broadcasting live from WORKBENCHcon 2022 in Atlanta, it's time for Organization Conversation, brought to you by Wall Control Storage Systems. Wall Control gives you the storage and organization you crave.
Welcome to another episode of Organization Conversation, and I am here with Doug. We're excited to have him. We're at WORKBENCHcon, and so I will give you the floor, Doug, and let you introduce yourself to our listeners and everybody who's here.
I appreciate that, Richard. My name is Doug Pisik. A few years back, I left the corporate world to become a full-time artist, and it's been absolutely amazing. I converted my entire basement into a workshop, and I found myself in galleries and museums and recognized all over. It's just been a very, very exciting thing, and I'm really excited to be here at WORKBENCHcon and the opportunity to talk with you as well.
Awesome. Yeah, that's amazing. That's like the goal of everybody here, is to make that transition from, the corporate world to being able to make your passion your livelihood as well. So how did you get started, in artistry, and what's your background there?
Well, it started way back, actually, as far as the woodworking goes, just because when I moved, into my first apartment out of college, I needed to make things. It was a small, crappy apartment, and I just needed to build things to put things in the kitchen, a pot rack, shoe racks, or the closet, things like that. And I went to the local Home Depot, bought some stuff, bought some tools, bought a little portable workbench, and turned my balcony and my apartment into a little mini workshop, and started
awesome.
Making things.
Yeah, that's so cool. So what are your specialties? What do you make for sale, and what do you make for exhibit? What's the structure there look like?
Well, it's really grown quite a bit. I started off primarily, and I still sell quite a bit of my wood art boxes. They're rather unique. Unlike typical boxes, these are used as centerpieces. When you lift the lids, the insides are highly decorated, just like the outsides are. I also have recently moved more into sculptural work. I've been in a number of museum exhibits with some of my sculptures, which represent everything from abstract works to recently a piece that had a heart and lungs that were sculpted out. And it's been very, very exciting. So my museum pieces tend to be highly decorative and sculptural. Worked with a glass artist, and we had glass and wood fused together in unique ways that most people don't know how it's done, which makes it fun and exciting.
Yeah, wow.
And most of my sales, some of it's are through galleries. My largest sales are through private commissions, and it's worked out very, very well. I've found myself very busy lately.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's an awesome story. So, moving back, our podcast is Organization Conversation. How does organization play into, your work and your efficiencies and what you do?
It's absolutely critical. I have a small shop. Like I said, I put it in my basement. So I have a room in my basement where I'm creating a lot of big things in a very small space. I find that, for example, if I put down a tool and I don't remember where I put it, I will lose it. Mm-hmm. So for me, my mode of operation is, as soon as I use a screwdriver, it goes back on the wall. Mm-hmm. As soon as I use a saw, it goes back on the wall. Everything's on the wall. I've got 4 walls of pegboard in my shop. I built out the shop, and it is it looks amazingly cluttered and confusing. But in my brain, I know where every single thing is, and I can jump to it and get to it whenever I need it. And that's critical for me to be able to create things in my shop.
Yeah, that's super important. That's one thing that people don't think about, but we try to communicate is if you're looking for a tool, you're no longer being an artist. You're hunting for something. So your flow has been interrupted. You're not on your work anymore, and so your work improves if you don't have to keep switching from detective to artist. So maintaining that, it's very subtle, but it makes a difference. You don't want to come back to your piece frustrated and have those emotions, running through because you got held up and waste some time finding a screwdriver. So, well, cool. And then, so we're obviously the sponsor is Wall Control. Can you speak to any benefits you see with Wall Control versus, say, your traditional pegboard?
Of course. In fact, I've actually been looking at your product fairly recently because I'm trying to decide whether it's worthwhile to take the effort to rip down what I'd put up and replace it. I've got, like I mentioned before, I've got 4 rolls of pegboard. Every tool you can imagine, I've found a way to mount on the wall. If it could be done, I've done it.
Gotcha.
But it's heavy. I have one wall of nothing but my clamps. So I've got literally hundreds of clamps hanging on pegboard, which isn't really designed for that.
Exactly. Yeah.
So having something like what you have here in metal is something I've been thinking about, especially when I went down to the shop one day and found a dozen of my clamps on the floor because they broke off the wall.
Exactly.
Yeah, after 10 years, I didn't think it would happen, but sure enough, they dropped. So
that's what people don't think about well, first of all, your time having to patch up traditional pegboard, how often it would need to be replaced, and protecting your investments, which are your tools, So we see a lot of people moving over from traditional pegboard into our metal system because you can use your regular old pegboard pegs. You don't have to, upgrade all your accessories at once. So it's an easy switch. The next time it's warped or torn or tears, you got to put something back on the wall. Don't go back to the old stuff. We like people to use ours. So,
of course, yeah. If I need to replace it, which I probably do now that I've mentioned it, it's definitely going to go up with something metal and heavy duty, so I don't have to worry about those issues ever again.
Excellent. Very good. Well, how can people find you, Doug? What's the best way to reach out to you both, I guess, socially as well as professionally, since you not only, present your stuff online through the social channels, but you also sell your work?
I appreciate you asking that. I post almost daily on Instagram. My handle is @Doug Pisik, and I'll spell that. It's DougPisik. And if people want to really take a good look at what I've got, the types of things that I have out there, they can look on my website, which again is DougPisik.com, DougPisik. And I'm always happy to have people take a look, provide feedback, share ideas with me. I love sharing. I love collaborating. So I appreciate you asking about that.
Yeah, absolutely, Doug. And we appreciate you being on the show. So I hope you have a good rest of the conference, and we'll see you.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us. Organization Conversation is brought to you by Wall Control, a family-owned and operated producer of best-in-class wall-mounted organizers for your home or business, made right here in the USA. To learn more, go to wallcontrol.com.